Super Rugby, folks, the Saturday games, of which there were three, and some weirdness that went on. We'll go through some key events, some stats, and you guys can let me know your thoughts. Plus, we'll have a look at the upcoming fixtures as well. We will start down in Wellington, where the talking point for that one's pretty much going to be the Hurricanes' decision to go for a try at the end of the game, when they probably could have evened it up had they opted for a penalty and kicked it, of course. But yeah, that was at the end. For the start, first half is back and forth stuff. Second half, not so much. Probably both sides will be a bit unhappy with the way the game panned out, to be fair. Too many errors. I mean, if you're a Canes fan, the main thing you'll be pleased about is that the bus, Julian Savia, looked pretty much back to his old best. He hasn't looked that good for a while. I mean, he's been, I think, good this year, but he was really quite devastating in this game. Artie wasn't much further behind him, if even better maybe. I don't know, different roles, of course. One's a Lucy, one's a winger, but yeah, it was a strange game. I mean, for the Canes, you get a try through Karifi, but Will Jordan got the first one. Absolute wheels on that guy. Geordie Barrett's got no chance to catch him. Quinton Strange gets one. George Bridge gets one where he doesn't have a perfect game, but he does dot that one down in the corner pretty well. Morby gets one for the Canes. Pretty inexperienced guy. Good to see him get on the board, but maybe the try of the game, in terms of both its importance and just how well Blackadder did it, was getting over the line. Blackadder early in the second half, it's the only try of the second half. How does he run through about three Canes defenders? I don't know. But yeah, that'll be one that I think the Canes defence will look back at with a bit of regret, because that was, I mean, they may have scored anyway, but he probably shouldn't have been able to score the way he did. Because, yeah, he ran into a few defenders and still managed to barge his way through. I mean, he's a big dude, but he should still be able to be stopped from there. But, yeah, end of the game, it essentially comes down. I mean, the Crusaders did get a try chalked off for a knock on, which probably would have sealed it. The ref didn't see it because it was on the wrong side, but you go into the 80th minute, pretty much. Canes are knocking on the door of the Crusaders. Their defence is having to hold. And, yeah, they decide to go for the jugular. They get a call. It's weird. Like, the commentators actually mentioned it. Can't the players make their own decisions? And I agree with that. Like, why do they need the water boy to come on and tell them what to do? You know, well, once you're on the field, it's essentially the players who are supposed to be in charge, right? Although I guess every team's different. They run it their own way. They obviously get the call to go for the try because the momentum is all with the Canes. But remember, we got golden points, so you could take the points and then try to go for it. But I guess they figured now's the time to go for it. Hindsight's 2020. They probably should have taken it, but if they'd got it, we'd all be saying how brave they were and what a great decision. But yeah, they opt for the touch, line out, they try to maul it, but nothing comes out the maul, and that's pretty much the game. Artie Savi is pretty livid with he thinks some shenanigans went on at the line out itself, but I guess that's the risk of taking the line out. So yeah, disappointing loss for the Canes, certainly. 24-21, that's twice that the Crusaders have managed to hold on into a game that they maybe shouldn't have won. Maybe they should have won. They outscored the Canes tries-wise, but I felt like in the second half the momentum was more with the Canes than it was the Crusaders. But sometimes that's the sign of a great team, is that they can win it when they don't actually play at their best. Clean breaks is 6-4 to the Canes. Defenders beaten is 33-21 to the Canes. Turnovers conceded is 19-17, with the Canes having 2 more, but that's a lot. It's a lot of coughed up ball. I mentioned the Xavier brothers, 5 defenders beaten for Julian, 4 defenders beaten for Artie. Will Jordan with those wheels, 94 run meters. I think the Crusaders have like 400 odd, so for him to get almost a quarter of that is a pretty good shift. A clean break and 2 defenders beaten from him. So, yeah, interesting game, man. Really entertaining. Not a lot of scoring going on in that second half, though. If you wanted your tries, first half is the half to watch. If you want the drama, Second half is the half to watch, especially towards the end. The Hurricanes, remember, they are in action twice next week with the make-up game against Moana Pacifica first on Tuesday. So that's the next game we look forward to for them. And the Crusaders got a game against the Blues at home, which is set up pretty nicely because the Blues got a win, 25-0. Now, tell me if I'm mistaken here, but that is the closest 25-0 I think I've ever seen. Like 25-0, that's a pretty comfortable win, but no, somehow that's a close game. If a few events are tweaked just a little bit, this is either a Chiefs win or a 1-point win, or it's a close game. But somehow, by a freak set of circumstances that all just happened to line up, it's 25-0. So it's honestly bizarre. Chiefs lose ALB early, which is concerning because he's a key man for them, obviously. And the Chiefs get Kalen Bozier yellow carded early, and the Blues punish them. And punishing during a yellow card is kind of a key point for this game because the Blues do it. They manage to go through some phases in the Chiefs 22, and eventually Tom Robinson gets close enough to the line that he runs into the padding of the post, but he's able to put the ball over the back of his head to dot it down. So it's a good try. Well worked. So they scored during the yellow card, and they've had a penalty, so it's 10-0. Happy days. Chiefs kick it out on the full from the restart, so not happy days for the Chiefs. They conceded another penalty. The Blues are just ticking the scoreboard along, 13-0, but then the Blues start to get some yellow cards. Luke Romano with some shenanigans, cynical stuff at the ruck time. Putting his hand where it doesn't belong to make the Chiefs guys knock it on, but the officials spot that one. So that's yellow card number 1. Knock, not long later, with a cynical not releasing one. That's yellow card number 2. So it's 15 against 13. And right before halftime, the Chiefs are making hard work of it. They finally get over the line through Tokiaho. But the score's still 0 because that one was chalked off because he just lost it in an Ofa-Tu'ungafasi tackle. That's one of those ones that back in the day there probably would have been a try. But they see enough loss of control for him to have that one chalked off. My dad reckons that one should have been a try, and he's a Blues fan. So, I thought I could see that it looked like it dislodged. So, I don't know, 50-50 maybe. But the run meters is 217 to 125 at halftime. Turnovers conceded is 7-6 with the Chiefs having the one more. Penalties conceded 8-7, so not a lot in it. The Chiefs can't score, and then Romano comes back on, and then they do get a try. Finally, they needed it. Nana Satoro, right, goes through, showed some real wheels. He caught Rieko Ioane later on in the game, so he's one of the few guys. Like Rieko has had that extra gear all year, where he's just been leaving guys for dead, but not Nana Satoro. He goes through, but that one gets chalked back for a bit of obstruction, and that one was pretty bad. That was, I think, was it Sam Cane in the way of like Bryce Heem? That one was bad. Yeah, that one was, that's never a try, that one. Blues come back to 15. So they've managed to escape a double yellow card period without conceding a point. Marcel Renata gets yellow carded later on again because the Blues are just conceding too many penalties. And it ends up eventually with the Chiefs getting a try. This one, it's Nana Saturo again. It's a 3v2 on the blind side. He goes over for the try. But this is what I'm talking about, like millimeters, centimeters, another kind of set of events, and it's a different game. But Nana Saturo, as he's sliding over the line and kind of getting tackled, he lifts up the ball to put it down. But in the time that he's lifted up the ball, his arm's touching the line. Like, that's a tough one to take, man. Like, on-field try. They determined there's enough evidence there to rule it out. Tough. He maybe should have just kept the ball on the ground the whole time because then it would have been a try as soon as he slid over, right? But he had the ball in the air. If the ball wasn't in the air, that would have been a try. So, yeah, it's 3 tries. The Chiefs are denied. That's what I'm talking about that scoreline. This could have been a closer game, but it's not. And believe it or not, the Blues actually get they get tries. One through Tom Robinson. That one is a proper another try to Tom Robinson's a proper miracle try. That one was Talea to Rieko Ioane to the cross kick from Bodie. That one was before the Renata yellow card, I should say. That one was like magic. And then AJ Lamb gets one at the death. So it's proper salt in the wound stuff from the Blues on the old Chiefs. It's a bonus point win. But honestly, one of the most bizarre games I've ever seen. So yeah, very, very weird. Run meters 378 to 384. Here's a killer one for the Chiefs. Knock-ons 11-3. Honestly, I should have mentioned this before, but there were times when they were hot on attack, and just that last pass, just chuck them to touch. Just knock it on. Like, yeah, very frustrating, I would imagine. If you're a Chiefs fan, you're probably banging your head against the wall. Clean breaks 5-2 to the Blues. Nana Satura, 100 plus run meters, beats 6 defenders. Talea beats 4. He has 64 run meters. But yeah, honestly, very, very, very weird game. As I mentioned, the Blues have got the Crusaders. That's going to be a good test because they've both got the same record. And they both had kind of, I want to say, unconvincing wins. Because I still don't believe that scoreline kind of is a fair reflection of the game, if you know what I mean. And the Chiefs, they have got Moana Pacifica, but on the Saturday. So it's the second game for Moana Pacifica that week. So there you go. The last one, the Brumbies 33-12 over the Drua. This one was probably, I would say, the most kind of predictable game. This kind of went according to the script. Wright gets 2 tries, one at the start, one at the finish. One of the finish is the bonus point try. So that's a proper bit of good stuff from the Brumbies. Remember, they made a few changes in the build-up to this one. Cam Clark gets 1, so these are back, but it kind of comes from a maul because they're mauling it on the left, get advantage, they spin it right, and he ends up finishing it. And then Pollard and McInerney get maul tries. So it's kind of 3 from the maul. 2.5 maybe if you want to consider it like that. And the Drua get 2 through Ratsave out on that right wing. It's very much a case of the Drua just don't like to kick the ball. They're playing, I guess, stereotypical Fiji and rugby, man, where they just back themselves. They back their pace. They back their guys to beat defenders. They back their offloads. Sometimes it doesn't pay off. Sometimes they cough the ball up. And yeah, like when you look at the stats of the game, I mean, the Brumbies have got 58% possession and 54% territory at halftime. They finished the game with like 61% territory. So the Brumbies are just playing the game in the right half of the field, and for the most part, able to shut down all those kind of attacking waves that the Drua are throwing at them, because they do have to make more tackles than the Drua in this game, despite the fact that I think the Brumbies had slightly more ball. But that's just kind of the nature of the way they play. I should mention that Ratsave's second try, he's virtually got no space, but somehow manages to find one on the blind side of a ruck. So yeah, it's proper, proper good stuff to watch. But I mean, 61% territory, like I mentioned, for the Brumbies. Kicks from hand is 16 to the Brumbies, which is already pretty low, and then 7 to the Drua. They just don't kick the ball, man. It's maybe playing to their strengths. I guess maybe sometimes you could say they need to play a bit more cautiously, a bit more territorially. I don't know. It's a pretty big loss. I don't know. It's a medium loss. So there's certainly things to work on. But then again, the Brumbies are one of the top teams. So if they played the same style against the Rebels or the Force, they might have got a better result. We'll have to kind of wait and see. But run meters 412 to 288. That's the Drua having more of that because that's the way they're playing. Already mentioned the kicks from hand. Brumbies made more tackles. Muirhead, though. I don't mean to discount the Brumbies backs. Muirhead and Wright at fullback, and then later on the wing, even Cam Clark. They were all, they were all lively. So it wasn't just about the Drua backs kind of having a go. Muirhead has 86 run meters, 2 clean breaks, and a defender beaten. And then Ratsave has 62 run meters, 3 defenders beaten, a clean break. So yeah, both those sides are on the bye next. But I'm kind of less perplexed about that one because that one went kind of according to the script. The margin's similar to what was predicted. The style of the tries are kind of unsurprising. 2 to a winger, some by the outside backs, but also some to the mauls, because I always talk up the Brumbies outside backs as well. They're a pretty sharp team. But yeah, the other 2 games were a little bit more different in terms of the key decision and then the weird nature of the way the game finished in terms of the scoreboard. But there you go. I need to go to bed. It's already midnight. You guys take care of yourselves. Let me know your thoughts on the games, and I will talk to you guys again soon. See you later.